Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest on the severe thunderstorms that are gripping many parts today and have done over the last few days and will continue to in the south tomorrow. We have a lot of heavy showers around, with many of these turning thundery at least for a time, and it has caused issues with flash flooding. We have still got warnings in force, and it's going to continue to cause issues over the next 24 hours. And we'll have a look at the latest on the live radar, what was happening with the lightning strikes, look at the weather warnings, and we'll have a look at the various short-range models to see what's going to be happening over the course of this evening and tomorrow, because we can see on the radar at the moment is just these storms getting going. It looks likely through later this afternoon into the evening, as I'm recording this around 3 p.m, it's likely to get slightly more widespread and more intense. A lot of more of these reds popping up within these showers, producing torrential rain and, as I said, lightning and those associated risks. So do make sure you do stay tuned for the rest of the video, as we will have a look at when these thunderstorms could really be at their peak. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. Now yesterday we did see a number of storms once again across the southwest. We even saw an amber warning put in force, and that was after the video had been published, but of course I kept everyone updated on Twitter, so make sure if you are interested in getting those up-to-date warnings, because the Met Office can issue warnings at very short notice, you do check out the Twitter page, as we did say, a amber warning for flooding in the southwest, or for thunderstorms, especially for the flooding risk. And today we are seeing these storms continue. Some areas yesterday, even in the east and towards London, saw some pop-up thunderstorms, but they're nowhere near as widespread today, especially in terms of precipitation. The thunderstorms are still scattered with widespread precipitation, but I'm expecting more of this precipitation to turn heavy and thundery over the course of this evening. But we've got some very active cells at the moment, some near Peterborough, very significant in towards Norwich and East Anglia. Got some near Leicester, Nottingham up there, and then down in towards Swansea, and then again many near the southwest coast. All these reds showing intense rainfall, and of course that will produce a lot of lightning with that as well. Now I can see this towards the London area. It's pretty dry at the moment. We did see these thunderstorms to the north have developed out of a large area of storms that were developing in the south this morning. Those have spread through, and it gave quite a bit of soaking towards the London area. And we just have some patchy rain here, but I'm expecting just to the south of this, you can see a couple storms starting to break out just off the north of France. That, as this pushes northwards over the course of this afternoon into this evening, I'm expecting more significant storms. So if you are in the southeast towards London, even into parts of Midlands, Oxfordshire, to Essex, and you're not seeing much so far, there's a high chance that we do see a lot more activity in the next sort of 6 hours or so. But for the time being, significant thunderstorms around for some very hit and miss. You can see, again, 10 miles away from some of these reds, and it's just light rain. But if you are in one of these reds, it's slow moving torrential downpours, and there could be some flooding risks with this as well. Now if we have a look at the temperatures, because of course this thundery outbreak has been caused by the breakdown of the heat wave we've had. You can see those temperatures are really quite low today. Not really below average, but more towards average, with those temperatures in the mid-20s, maybe low 20s for many, maybe even high teens in the north and west, so a lot cooler than we have recently. It could be hotting up a little bit later this week, back in towards the mid to high 20s for some, as hotter air does stay nearby, but for the time being, that sort of low to mid-30s I don't think is coming back for at least another week or two. There is some chances towards the last week of August we could see something hotter, but perhaps just skimming into the 30s, and there still is a lot of uncertainty with that. So we'll have a look at that right at the end of the video, so do stay tuned if you're interested in that. So if we do go over to the Met Office website and have a look at the latest rainfall radar, but we have it on the lightning. Now you can see all these orange dots, that is lightning strikes in the last sort of 5 minutes, within the last 5 minutes, and that shows you where all the active thunderstorms are. All the other ones, greens and blues, are showing where there has been thunderstorms. So you can see across the southwest, thunder activity there, one towards central southern England and up towards that Cambridgeshire area, towards Peterborough and in towards Nottingham as well. There's been some lightning strikes. Now this detector doesn't pick up every single lightning strike, I must emphasise that. So there are lightning strikes, especially the sheet lightning that is not cloud to ground, that doesn't always get picked up. So There is going to be a lot more lightning activity than this, but this is when the major active storms are at the moment. I'm expecting this quadrant in the southeast towards the London area will see more activity over the coming hours. So we'll just have to see exactly how it does play out, but at the moment we have got many active storms about, a lot of very heavy torrential rain, giving quite a soaking for many areas. So if you go to the weather warnings, we still have a widespread yellow warning in force for thunderstorms from today, or well, pretty much the full 24 hours of today. While some places will stay dry, others are likely to see thunderstorms with torrential rain bringing some disruption. Again, it was updated yesterday, but hasn't been updated today. Again, moving it higher in likelihood. So if we did see some active storms really stall or really develop in a short space of time, we could see an amber warning put into force. But that will be very much a snap amber warning that we'll have to see really if that does come off, because at this stage we're not seeing anything too much like that. We'll just have to keep an eye on it, of course, stay tuned, and I'll be posting that on Twitter if we do see an amber warning put in force for any storms if they do develop in a very short period of time and sort of stay stationary. But thunderstorms and areas of heavy rain will develop quite widely across much of England and Wales. The extent of these thunderstorms will be more widespread than on Monday, though some spots will still miss storms and remain dry. 20 to 30 millimetres of rain is possible within an hour, but where areas of thundery rain become slow moving, some places could see 50 millimetres in less than 3 hours. There's a chance that higher totals could occur in a few spots over the course of the day. Hail and frequent lightning are likely additional hazards for some places. There remains some uncertainty at this stage in the regional and county level focus. So again, emphasising the rainfall amount is the biggest thing from this. And if you go back to the live radar and actually put on the rainfall amounts from the last 24 hours, we'll be able to see how many areas have seen quite significant rain. You can see even towards the London area have seen some very heavy patches of rain in some places, towards Wales, southwest England, where we saw the amber warning put in force. You can see wherever any of these yellow dots are, that's where we've seen significant thunderstorms, even some of these green areas of thunderstorms as well, but ones that have moved through slightly faster. And I do expect these areas that have seen very little rain in the Midlands and East Anglia will see more rain and showers over the next day or so, and especially towards the London area. As we'll have a look at the models in a second, I do expect towards London, Essex, Kent, down to Sussex and Surrey, even to Oxfordshire as well, and all the way down towards the Isle of Wight. I do expect this quadrant to see significant rainfall over the next 24 hours. Already seen quite a lot of heavy rain here, but I think widely we'll be seeing these darker greens and perhaps yellows if the models that we're going to be having a look at in a second are correct. So if you go over to the UKV and have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days. Now you can see, if I just zoom in there briefly, again, you can see at the moment we do have heavy showers and thunderstorms breaking out, and I'm recording this around 3 p.m, and you can see heavy showers and storms are breaking out, and they're pretty much breaking out where we expected, across southwest England, towards East Anglia, up towards Nottingham as well, and parts of South Wales, and nothing in that southeast quadrant. But if we do run on another couple hours, all the way perhaps out to 6 p.m, you can see how those thunderstorms really start to develop towards that London area over the next couple of hours, turning quite significant areas of precipitation around London, Oxford, towards the north of London towards this evening. So that's why I say, even though we are seeing some significant storms at the moment, I do expect the rainfall at least to become more widespread and more heavy towards this evening and overnight as well. And that precipitation will eventually peter out over the course of this evening, but still linger across the Midlands in some places. And as I said, areas right towards the south and southeast are not seeing too much at the moment, but it's tomorrow where the risk is likely to be very high. Perhaps a persistent heavy band of rain across the Midlands into parts of South Wales. Southwest England could see more flooding issues there, but it's to the far southeast through tomorrow morning. You see heavy showers and storms start to break out really along that southeast quadrant, which could see stationary storms for 3 or 4 hours there. And that's what I'm saying. You're not seeing a lot of rain at the moment, but it does look likely we could see quite a lot of rain there tomorrow morning and maybe tonight as well, for eventually those storms do dissipate slowly towards Wednesday evening, and perhaps even as the early hours of Thursday, still there in a few spots before eventually we go more westerly, things turning more unsettled, but not a thundery sort of unsettled, just a general Atlantic flow with showers and weather fronts pushing in from the north. But it still could be dry and hot at times in the far south and east before Sunday. Looks like a big weather front is pushing in, which will give a massive soaking and will really put a dent into the drought conditions, because of course Thunderstorms are good for producing rain, will fill up reservoirs, but your ground conditions with your grass, your plants, and the wildlife in general, a lot of this precipitation falling, because it is so heavy, just runs off because the ground, as hard as it is right now, just acts as concrete. So not a lot of it soaks in, but this sort of persistent, light to moderate rain, that will soak in a lot better, a lot faster. And that's why we could see these drought conditions a little bit alleviated over the next few days. Again, it's not going to stop hosepipe bans. It's not going to stop the drought conditions. We're still going to be well below average for rainfall this month. But it is likely to help in some areas. So if you do look at the max temperatures, you can see today those temperatures peaking around the low to mid-20s, maybe 23, 24, maybe 25 degrees in a few spots. As we head towards Wednesday, those temperatures once again could rise towards the mid-20s in a couple areas, maybe 21 to 23 degrees is possible, but most likely low 20s and even high teens. So a lot cooler, perhaps even below average in many areas. But where we do see sunshine, perhaps even towards the Liverpool area, that could you can see that in the northwest and maybe towards Essex as well. 23 degrees is possible. So still could be warm in a few places around average, but many areas below average on Wednesday. As we head towards Thursday, you can see it is drier and it will turn warmer, back towards the mid-20s, slightly above average, 24 to 26 degrees. Those upper air temperatures are still around or above average, so it's not going to be too bad, and it will be a pleasant, warm day. And there won't be a lot of precipitation around, especially in central and eastern areas, perhaps in the north and the west, as we saw on the chart a second ago, weather front starting to approach. And by Friday, similarly, another mid-20s day, 21, 22, up all the way up to 26 or 27 towards Essex. And into Saturday, again, similar, slightly cooler though, with high temperatures around that 20 to 24 degrees, perhaps high teens elsewhere. So much more towards average towards the end of this working week into the weekend. Still could be seeing some warm days here or there, but nothing substantial at all. Max temperatures maybe 27 or 28 in a few spots that see sunshine in the east. Now, if you go over to the WRF and have a look at the Cape charts, we'll be able to see why that thunderstorm activity is likely to increase over the course of this afternoon into the evening, and is likely to be quite severe perhaps in the southeast tomorrow. So again, this is the most unstable Cape, so when you've got a particle of air rising, this is the energy available. So once you've got those updraft, got those showers going, this is the energy available to those showers, and that produces those thunderstorms. So you can see at 3 p.m, there is Cape around, quite a significant Cape in some regions, but nothing crazy. You can see across that southwest corner towards the Isle of Wight, we are seeing thunderstorms in that significant area of Cape. But again, if I do skip to 6 p.m, you can, or even 7 p.m. actually, you can see it's much more intense and towards the London area, north of London, towards Oxfordshire, into the East Midlands, East Anglia, and parts of Wales as well. So the Cape is going to pick up over the course of this evening, peaking around late afternoon, early evening, and that's where we could see the most severe thunderstorms this evening and the heaviest rain. I do think the risk with these storms is very much going to be the precipitation. I must emphasise that. Yes, there will be lightning strikes in the most intense cores of these storms, but the most likely impact will be the flooding and surface water flooding. I'm not expecting any river flooding here. But surface water flash flooding is very possible with this, and a lot of significant rainfall disruption with that as well. Big puddles could be seen out there as well. Now, the Cape does eventually degrade away, but still lingers in some spots over the course of this evening. That's why the precipitation could remain all night, really, in some areas, being quite moderate. Before, as we head into early hours of Wednesday, into the early afternoon, you see Cape is significant towards that London area, that quadrant in the southeast corner, significant Cape there, and likely once again to see severe thunderstorms breaking out there. Again, rain being the main issue, but also associated risks from hail, lightning, and gusty winds. And that just lingers all the way through Wednesday before eventually degrading around midnight, before eventually Cape levels do drop significantly and don't really return as we're going into a more, well, still unstable but not as much energetic air mass off the Atlantic. Now, if you have a look at the precipitation charts from the WRF today, you can see around 3 p.m. how we do have that significant storm risk. You can see it across the East Midlands, towards East Anglia, and toward that area, toward the Isle of Wight, where we are seeing significant storms at the moment. So the WRF is getting it mostly right, but again, convection means it is very difficult to pinpoint it, and we're seeing some storms across the southwest. They're not showing at all here on the WRF. That's why you always have to take these models with a pinch of salt. Sometimes they show thunderstorms, they're not quite as intense. Sometimes they show nothing at all, occasional, and we do get massive storms. So we always have to take it with a grain of salt. And you can see at the moment there is thunderstorm risk, but around 6 p.m. you can see it becomes more extensive, at least the precipitation does. So across the London area towards the southeast, could see some more rain, but especially East Anglia, East Midlands, Northern England into the southwest and central southern England, perhaps the far southeast corner, losing out a little bit this evening. And that rain just lingers all night, perhaps in some areas, for eventually through Wednesday, seeing significant storms start to break out around the mid to early afternoon in that southeast corner. Again, will be very slow moving and linger. So some areas could see a lot of rain tomorrow, others could see very little. Again, the hit and miss nature, for eventually those storms hang around all evening before eventually degrade away. And through Thursday, we just go back into weather fronts in off the Atlantic. So if we do now have a look at the ARPEGE and compare that, and have a look at the Cape from this, again, if we look at 3 p.m, you can see Cape is breaking out, and again, it does align quite similar to where we have on the live radar the heaviest storms at the moment. But I'm not seeing too much across the East Midlands or East Anglia, where we do have significant active storms breaking out. So again, very difficult to pinpoint exact location, but rough location is correct. And you can see it actually just pick up. And I said around 7 p.m, that Cape is highest through that M4 corridor across London, through Oxfordshire, down into the south, west into East Anglia, the Midlands, into parts of Wales, and even into southeast England. So if we do get these showers and these storms breaking out, they can have a lot of energy and a lot of precipitation associated with them. And that continues through the evening, for eventually it does degrade away, and then returns with a vengeance tomorrow afternoon. You see these oranges and reds across that south coast into the southeast of England towards London, Kent, the Isle of Wight, Surrey, Sussex. Could see significant Cape there, which will allow these storms to maintain their strength for a number of hours and could be very slow moving and stationary. So I do think, even though tomorrow the widespread risk of storms is lower than today, many areas will be drier tomorrow, I do think these storms could be very, very dangerous tomorrow in areas in that southeast corner, because even though it's not widespread, it could be very, very low close. In some areas there could see 50 to 100 millimetres of rain over the course of the afternoon if these storms do stay stationary. And that's what we're seeing from this chart at the moment. Of course, we do have a yellow warning in force for that. For Wednesday, sorry, we didn't have a look at it in the video, but we will update that if that does become more of an issue tomorrow. But we have updated it over the last few days. So if we move beyond that, you can see the Cape eventually does degrade away, and we do go much drier. And if we do have a look at the precipitation charts for this, you can see this afternoon, once again, around 3 p.m, nothing too crazy actually. But it's around latest evening, 7-8 p.m, that's where the ARPEGE really gets going. So the ARPEGE not showing a lot of 3 p.m. as I'm recording this, but we are seeing a lot in reality, but really picks it up around 6 to 8 p.m. So that's where we could see this very, very significant storms. So make sure you do keep an eye on the radars. Looking likely the showers and storms are only just going to increase over the coming hours. And beyond that, we do see it turn slightly drier, but for the early hours of Wednesday, could see significant rain just linger in the London area. Not looking too thundery there, but heavy rain for eventually more thunderstorms linger across central southern England. You can see that line there through the far south and southeast, and that could be stationary storms formed by from wind convergences. Some coming from the inland, other winds coming off the channel, and that could create these stationary storms that are just sitting along that south coast. So we'll have to see exactly how that does play out, but it could be very severe in that small area. Again, they're hit and miss, but we'll just have to see how it does play out. And of course, beyond that, it does generally turn drier, but with weather fronts pushing from the west, so the north and west go into persistent bands of rain beyond that. So if we do finish the video by just having a look at the GFS, and then we'll go through the ensembles as well. So you can see the low pressure involved at the moment before eventually we go into a westerly flow. An unstable outlook, but it's a westerly flow, so it's not quite as energetic. So not big thunderstorms, more likely just light showers and cloud and weather fronts pushing in from the west. It just continues over the coming weeks. And it just looks generally quite westerly. Around day 10, though, high pressure builds back in, and this is why I say towards the last week of August, we could be going hot again, back into the high 20s, low 30s, and you can see that from the air masses, back up towards 10 to 15 degrees at 850 HPA, lingering quite warm and dry. So perhaps the last 7 days of August could turn us back hot once again. We can see that from the ensembles. Warm at the moment, just above average, before dropping below average later this working week as weather fronts push in from the west and low pressure. But beyond that, it returns above average, and the last week of August looks drier. There's still some precipitation spikes because there is uncertainty in the longer term, but it turns slightly drier, but still well above average in terms of upper air temperatures. The operational run here wasn't actually that much above average, but you can see a lot of the other ensemble members are towards that low to mid-teens, which would give temperatures back into the high 20s, maybe touching on 30 degrees again. So we could not be done with the hot sort of heat wave conditions. I'm not thinking mid-30s. I don't think that's got a chance at this stage, but I do think perhaps into the low 30s, 30 to 32 degrees is possible in the last week of August. If you are sick of the heat, we're going to get a bit of a respite over the next week or so, but for the last week of August, it could really reignite once again. We'll have to see what happens, but you can see over the next week there is precipitation around, so I do think a lot of areas are going to see some rain, if not the next day. With the thunderstorms, I do think persistent bands of rain in from the west will produce some light to moderate rain for all, at least for a period of time. If we just compare it to the ECMWF Ensembles over the next couple of weeks, again, very similar. Warm at the moment, dropping cooler with the weather front, and then a back above average for the last week of August. Quite a few persistent little precipitation spikes there over the next sort of 5 or 6 days. So I do think, as I said again, weather fronts pushing into the west will produce some significant rain at times. And you can see around the 22nd, there could be quite a soaking with precipitation there. I think that's because we've got that little low pressure system running in off the Atlantic southerly tract, and it could give quite a lot of precipitation in the London area. So it does look like for the next 5 to 7 days, we do see still some warmer conditions, some cooler conditions, some heavy showers, storms, and also some persistent precipitation. And it should help alleviate those drought conditions at least a little bit. But anyway, thanks for watching. Make sure you stay safe over the next day or so with these thunderstorms. Make sure you do stay aware and keep an eye on the radar as well. And again, I'll see you for another update tomorrow where we'll have a look again at the thunderstorm risk tomorrow, as it does look likely we could see something quite severe tomorrow afternoon once again. But of course, still got some severe thunderstorms coming up this evening, so do keep an eye on the radar and the weather warnings. And of course, I'll update that on Twitter as well if we do see any changes in the weather warnings. So as I said, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.